Thanks, Bill. Appreciate the introduction. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Williams. I retired out of the SEAL teams in 2008, and Bill's telling me I need to get closer to the mic. Thank you, Bill. And when I retired, I sort of became quite a serial entrepreneur, I guess, and have had the pleasure of working with some great guys and starting up a couple of different companies now. And our newest venture that I'm very, very excited about, very excited to be here and share it with you, is a company called Nano Global. Am I controlling slides or you? There. So I've been giving a little bit of thought the last 2 days watching the various presentations about what is innovation. And the conclusion I came up to as I was thinking about this is there's two sides to innovation. There's demand and there's opportunity, and both drive innovation in a unique way. I'm really happy to see there's a couple people in the audience today, right now. Yesterday it was interesting when the ref came up and spoke, and how many people from industry were sitting in the office listening to every single word the ref said. And it was incredibly important. And you look at the disproportionateness in the audience when industry is speaking to how many people are in uniform listening. If you take that one step further and you think about Apple, which I think everybody would agree, Apple's a very innovative company. You know, before they have a release of a product, they have pre-sales coming out the door. It's really amazing. There's people lined up for 24 hours to see it, and that demand drives innovation from that side of the fence. And I think it's really interesting from industry's perspective, trying to work with Department of Defense. It's a really challenging environment because there's so many unknowns about what that opportunity really looks like when you're trying to innovate, when you're trying to come up with things that the Army needs. So the other half of that, on the other side of demand, I think is opportunity. I'm going to talk for a split second about this slide here. A couple of years ago, about a year ago, I had the pleasure of listening to General Flynn talk about population trending and what that means. And when I saw this slide, and it was actually a bunch of slides, but when I saw these slides, I really thought I was looking, from my perspective, at a crystal ball into the future. And when you look at a crystal ball into the future, where I saw opportunity, I saw a lot of opportunity. This wasn't necessarily the spur of Nano Global, but when you think about the population changing from where it is today at about 6.5 billion to 10 billion in the next 25 to 30 years, that's going to change the landscape completely. And we as industry, we as the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, our partner nations have to adjust. 80% of the world's population today lives within 100 kilometers of a coastline. And you can see, on that map, the red areas are just the overpopulation areas. As a result of the overpopulation, as a result of the infrastructure that can't possibly keep up with the population as it grows, low income, less opportunities. The leadership, whether that is governmental leadership or tribal leadership, will not be able to support that. As a result, organized crime and worse, terrorism and terrorist organizations will end up stepping in and replacing that. And I think this is the opportunity part of the innovation package I'm talking about right now. So, not necessarily tied to that slide or tied to what I was commenting before. About a year ago, we started Nano Global, and it was to take advantage of the nano revolution that is occurring. And our first product that we identified was a antimicrobial that I'm going to talk about here in just a moment, that we're incredibly excited about releasing to the public and to multiple sectors worldwide. But we believe that we can heal the world. If pathogens cause illness, we can eradicate them. And we are FDA, EPA approved. We've been in that battle now for about 5 years. It's an extremely new product. And as I mentioned, it's in the process of being released. What is it? The active ingredient is Ambicel Q. Ambicel Q has some props and some giveaways for later. But Ambicel Q is a nano material. It bonds to the substrate in an interesting way, very uniformly. When applied, it actually lasts 24 hours after 10 washes. On other substrates, such as material or just about any substrate with the exception of Teflon, it can last up to 14 days. And in a moment, I'm going to talk about an application in water that I really think can change the world. How does it work? It's really, on one hand, it's simple. On the other hand, it's not. You kind of got to take the I believe pill because we can't really see the nano material working. The creator of it, Bill Peterson, can talk to this in incredibly great depth. But it's a silicon bond that uniformly forms on whatever that substrate is. Once it's formed, there's the long molecular chain which electrostatically pulls in the pathogen, and we've got a list of pathogens, parasites, viruses, bacteria, that once it's pulled in, the nitrogen barb actually stabs the molecular structure, causing lysis, which makes the molecule inert essentially at that point. And here's a list of some of the pathogens that we've tested against. There's an extremely long list. We're very, very effective to a log 5 across the board of pathogens on almost every substrate. We're very interested. We're very successful against enveloped viruses, and we're very interested in the opportunity to test Ambisol-Q or the Nano product against Ebola, because we do believe that we can defeat Ebola on contact and lasting. So we'll talk just a little bit about products. The Nano product that you see to the Nano Pure is designed for hands. Our sister company is a company called Core 24, and the Core 24 product you'll be seeing in Walgreens stores, CVS stores, Kroger stores in the next 2 months in preparation for the flu season. There's also a national sales campaign that's going to occur with that coming up as well. In my role with Nano Global, we're bringing it worldwide is what we're doing. We have partners now in China and the Middle East. We're looking at 5 primary target sets: the U.S. government, hospitals, hospitality, transportation, and major sporting or large events that you have large populations of people. I think that ties into other applications as well. When you look at the growing number of refugees worldwide, in highly dense population areas throughout the world, where a disease could be absolutely catastrophic, where the hospital and infrastructure already does not support, we believe that we could be used as a preventative solution in those type of environments. The Nano Surface product, that's designed for surfaces. As I mentioned, it lasts up to 14 days once applied. It does have to be normal washing after the initial application of it to remove the bio-loading so that the silicon base or the nitrogen barbs have access to the pathogens that might be applied to it. With that, I'll mention currently we have 2 tests going on with the government. The first one is with the Naval Health Research Center. The Naval Health Research Center looked at an opportunity within the Marine Corps where 74 young men show up or young ladies show up at Marine Corps boot camp and spend 12 weeks together. This is an environment that absolutely is loaded with pathogens as people from different parts of the world, young people meet together. We really tried to base it off of the sick call and data that they had at the time. And we're about halfway through that right now and have seen a dramatic reduction in the amount of recruits that have gone to sick call. They weren't able to do it with the combination of skin and surface, because they felt they needed an IRB to do that, and that's going to be a follow-on test since it's been identified since that test started, that they really didn't, because it is a commercially available off-the-shelf product today. The Nano Water is probably the one that I'm most excited about. What we found is that we can coat materials with the Ambisol-Q active ingredient. And once that material is coated, it will stay coated and not bind away for long periods of time. In fact, in many instances, we don't know how long because it's relatively new. But if we coat it to a sponge-like material that would take up about 1.5 to 2% of the water volume, the water that it touches is pathogen free to a log 5. So we've passed APHC has taken a look at our protocol for that, and it's currently in NSF for testing against TB Med 577 P248 protocol. And we're excited about this for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's no power requirements now. The large reverse osmosis systems require a lot of power. There's no chemicals that need to be added. It is a natural occurrence where the pathogen is pulled into the nitrogen barb and destroyed, and essentially an inert object at that point. And here's just a little bit more information about this. Is the surface component here. Excuse me, that was the hand. This is the surface. The water. Some of the other applications that we're looking at today are air filters. Can we apply it to an air filter? And we found in our initial testing that it does work very well, filtering air from one part of a station to another part. Fabric cleaner, applying it with normal fabric cleaner. And in sand is a really unique piece that we're looking at right now, and we've successfully done in the fracking industry. We just recently brought on a CTO. He was the former CTO of Dell. And we're looking at how we can use smartphone technology now and nano sensors. They're not really nano sensors. They're 1 meter by 1 meter to identify pathogens or bioloading in a specific area, and then the cell phone to be able to monitor that and to possibly create an environment where on-demand cleaning is available, and we'll know where pathogens are growing and be able to track and monitor that information. So the combination, and this is our initial push in with the Nano Global. Our very first product is the antimicrobial solution. We're currently working on the Nano Cloud to be able to gather information about infection and bioloading worldwide. And we're all tying it together as we speak right now, and will be, as I mentioned, in Kroger stores, CVS stores, Walgreens stores here in the next 2 months. We'll be doing a national sales campaign right at the beginning of flu season and growing globally, and we're super excited about that opportunity. I do have some samples available, first come, first serve. There's about 8 of them, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to do my best to answer them.
Let's use the microphone so everybody, we're recording, sir. With the nano water application, is there any concerns with freezing and unfreezing? Is there any change in the effectiveness there?
None that we have found yet, but that is part of the TB Med 577 P248 protocol testing right now that's ongoing. But we have, in our internal testing, we've had it froze and come back, and there's no detriment to the ability of the nano product to clean the pathogens.
All right, thank you. Had it froze? Is that a...
Frozen, freezing.
Have you tested it against cryptosporidium?
Yes.
And was it successful?
Yes. And that data is available on the kill time, kill chain, and it's all on our website.
Are there any type of pathogens that you've tested it against that it doesn't work on, or has it been successful on everything so far?
Successful on everything so far.
So Jeff, when you look at some of these cases, I think recently there was an NFL football player who's going to have his foot amputated because he got MERS. Legionnaires, I think recently, and is it Philadelphia, Chicago? So these type of things, when you read these articles or you see the headlines, I mean, what goes through your mind?
That we have a solution today, and you look at hospital infection rates, and you hear stories all the time when I talk to people around the country of somebody that they know that went into the hospital with one problem and walked out with another problem. And the way that we attack the pathogen, we feel very confident, whether it's on skin for up to 24 hours or on other substrates for up to 14 days, that we are a viable solution that's available today.
And I know you're going through the process of getting qualified. How are you finding that process?
Interesting, and I appreciate you asking that question. On one hand, it's been easy. On the other hand, it hasn't been. The material's available, and I've offered it to any lab, and this goes true. I mean, if you want it, if you want to test it, it is available. We will give you the list of material. We'll give you the protocols for testing. I've been asking for now 4 months for somebody in the government to test it against Ebola. We believe that we are confident. We haven't been able to. We're confident that we've killed other envelope viruses, that we could be very successful against Ebola. We're very successful against MERS and other resistant strains, and H1N1, C. diff. The list really goes on to just about anything you can name. We've got testing right now that we've done, third party or through some of the labs that we've been contracted to do the work.
Now, did you talk about the persistent protection? It's not just the cleaning once, but it's surface protection over
14 days.
14 days.
Yeah, 14 days on most substrates. The exception is Teflon, and glass requires 2 coats to really be effective for that 14-day period, but it actually goes on for longer than that. I've got prolonged test data up to 30 days that I can share if anybody's interested in it. We've made it 14 days just as a rule of thumb more than anything else.
I know in Afghanistan or some of the desert areas, solar panels are affected by dust and things like that. Would some of the surface effectiveness be affected by dust or any of those high particulate environments?
Great question, and absolutely yes. Dirt on your hands will affect it. I mean, the antimicrobial property will last 24 hours, but you do have to keep your hands washed. We're actually even affected by bio-loading on a doorknob. So, I mean, you can spray this on a doorknob, and yes, it will last 14 days, but you do need to still do routine and regular cleaning between those periods to ensure that the microbe or pathogen has access to the nitrogen barb.
Okay, thank you.
I have some samples if anybody wants one. Oh, do we have one more? Oh, we got more.
44 people want samples.
Okay.
Thank you. How long do bacterial spores need to be treated before they're rendered safe?
So it differs slightly. We've seen, and I can provide you the specific information. It took about, we were achieving a log 3 reduction in about 30 seconds. And in 5 minutes, we were achieving a log 5 reduction. I can provide you that specific information if you shoot me a note, though.
Okay, Jeff, thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Right.
everybody.
I think you delivered what you promised.